Hey everybody, Doug here from 2 Plus Tough, and I am just chilling out on Friday. If you guys don't follow the channel very regularly, every Friday I try to do a little live show where we hang out, chat, and that kind of stuff. Last Friday I was hanging out with a good friend who came up to visit me, Mr. Ben from Nova, and I had a wonderful time. I'm just pulling up the comment section here on my phone so that when I go to turn to the painting cam, I can then watch over there. So. What I do want to say here up the top is a quick announcement is that if you haven't seen my last video, I put up a video about a lore contest that the channel is having, where if you enter in and write your own lore for your story, you get 1,500 words, that kind of thing. You can join in the competition, and there's prizes and that kind of stuff. I went into it in more detail in that video, so okay, I got my comments pulled up. And that's about it for me. So what we're going to do is transition over. Let me make sure my screen and everything's working. I see sounds working. Awesome. Thank you all very much for clarifying that. And then we'll go over here to the downward cam, which suspiciously is not working all of a sudden. Give me a hot second to figure that out. Painting cam. Why is my painting camera not working? Huh. Alright, give me 1 second here. It's gonna be a sad stream if I can't actually show what I'm doing. Tell you what, I'm gonna end the stream and reboot my thing, and you guys just sit tight, give me half a second here. It might make a new chat window, but we'll get. Okay, and we're back. Sorry about that, everybody. I'm not quite sure what happened. Looks like everything all my cords and stuff kind of got shifted around. So, let me know if you are in the chat. Did everything work okay? Did things crash on you? If I need to make an announcement about that, I totally can. So, now that I moved everything around to make it difficult for myself, let me get reoriented here. That's strange. It's almost like it came unplugged, but it was just totally fine, just sitting there. It fixed. Okay. Thank you, Kenzie. Apathy Kitten. Looks good. So, yeah, what we're doing is we're just wrapping up this section of the Necromunda stuff. So, if you haven't been following along, I got the Dark Uprising set because I wanted to do Necromunda and basically any and all skirmish games on the channel. And Dark Uprising comes with a soul-crushing amount of terrain. So, like, this stuff, plus some scraps and, like, the doors and that kind of thing over to the right. I was feeling really good, getting a lot of progress done, and then I met up with my buddy Venitriide, who's in the chat right now, and he gave me the other half. And I was feeling really good, and now I'm like, oh, God. With all the progress I still have to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish this half and then pause on the terrain because I'm really excited to dive into, not my next project, like I'm not moving on from it, but I want to go back to my Maggotkin and do some more progress on them. I got the spirit back when it came to painting Nurgle. So I am interested to do a little bit of that as well. Yeah, let me get my brushes here. Sorry for the sound. My coworkers were super generous and they gave me a set of brushes for Christmas. I was like, that is so kind of y'all. They're very supportive of the channel. Let's see. So we got some folks participating in the writing competition. Yeah, please do. What do I need? I need a Shabti Bone. That's what I need in my life. And we're gonna take one of Looking for brushes now. Usually I'm looking for paint, so that's, I guess, an improvement. There we go. Get yourself a brush you're not afraid to ruin. And we're just gonna do a whole lot of stippling, as is usual when it comes to my method of doing this. And actually, this weekend I plan to do a tutorial video on how I did all this terrain and break it down a little bit. Because there's plenty of folks who are like, you know, I want something simple. I don't own an airbrush, and that's it. Me. That's me. I want something simple. I don't own an airbrush. How can I bang this out efficiently? And that's kind of the plan. So, tell me if anyone is in the chat working on stuff. What are you working on? And I'll get my... oh my god, wait, question. What realm is your corn army from? Oh, talking to Kenzie. Yep, yep. Don't spoil too much for me, but... go ahead and talk amongst yourselves about the lore competition. Not a problem. Let's see. The incredible Miss Griggs has just delivered my morning coffee. Put it on my tab. Thank you. Thank you. I love you. Thank you. And we're just going to hope that I don't stick my paintbrush in that. So, yeah, so I got a little bit of a treat from my boss. He gave me for Christmas, gave me a $100, like one of the Visa prepaid debit cards. I was like, oh, that's super sweet. So then I ran over to my favorite local game store and bought up 2 sets of the Pusgoyle Blight Lords to complement the 3rd set that I had won on a bidding thing on eBay for also very cheap. And so now I'm like itching to get back to my Nurgle because there's a specific list that I want to build that it uses a ton of those guys. And by a ton, I mean, you know, they're 200 points for 2, so it's what, 4, 6, 8, and 8 of them plus a hero, like the hero version. So, which I'm not really a huge fan of when they do like the you know, 2 models in the kit and you can turn 1 into a hero, because then it's like, what do I do with the other one? But for the most part, I'm pretty happy about it. I don't see enough people playing the Pusgoyle Blight Lords. You see a lot of Blight Kings. And you certainly see plenty of Plague Bearers. Johan says, I'm working on the Beastgrave Warbands. Grashak Raveners done in Diablo-style red skin. I love it. So I haven't... I'd never actually played Diablo, but I have followed a lot of their artwork because it's been very influential in video game, just like history. Very iconic, I guess I could say. So that's awesome. I know exactly what you're talking about, the red skin. There we go, just peppering that up. All right. How's that look? That's looking pretty rightfully gross. Finishing up my 2nd sister battle, minus the arms and bolter. Well, that's the most important part. Gotta have arms and bolters for killing heretics. I don't play Diablo either, but the art from there in Warcraft is amazing. Exactly, yeah. And not just like the character art. I really like the environmental like scenes that they've made. Really, really cool. And that's actually, so me and Jack were playing for a little bit Chaos Bane, which is kind of like a, I don't know, Warhammer Old World version of a Diablo from what I understand. And it's fun. And but to me the biggest draw was like just playing in those environments for sure. I'm not paying anything at the moment, just need to calm down, relax after dealing with the dense guy that makes up the Star Wars fan base. You know, so I'm not I haven't seen it, so I can't give any spoilers. So I'm going to ask that you don't either. But it's, you know, for some reason, I don't often pat myself on the back. But for whatever reason, like after so I watched the first of the new ones, like since Disney owned it. And I left the theater and I was like, you know, I enjoyed myself, but I just kind of realized, like, you know, this franchise, it's just not for me anymore. I was obsessed with it in high school. I was like, it just doesn't grip me the same way. And I'm just going to move along. And so I haven't really worried about it. I got free tickets to go see Rogue One. Right? Was it Rogue One? Whatever the Rogue One was when they were stealing the Death Star plans. But beyond that, I was just like, Now I'm just like sitting here watching everybody else have meltdowns, and I'm like, I'm glad I decided to bow out gracefully rather than just be angry. For sure. I think that's all of the Shabti bone that I need, because everything else is just metal and rust. Finished my Delac gang, moving to finish my Corvus Cabal. Nice. Nice. Yeah, actually, we had a great talk about our Necromunda hopes, dreams, and aspirations last night. It was a ton of fun with me and the gentleman who will be taking part in that. It was good to kind of get on the same page. We're all three of us, so there's only three of us who are going to be, I think, really into it because of the complexity of the game and the you know, having to buy a set of models that don't fit into anything else. You know, it's its own jam, and that's totally, frankly, that makes me happy. Just because, you know, it's not for everybody. It makes it special for those who are like, I love weird narrative gaming stuff. So I'm very, very excited. We have, so I have my, what do I have? My Escher, but I also have boxes of, I actually kept my Corpse Grinder cult from Dark Uprising, so I have that. I haven't finished really building it. But I also have some, what is it, Goliaths, and I have a box of Khador, so I can do quite a bit. And so, yeah, basically, right now I'm waiting for my Warcry name bases to come in from the UK. And then I'm going to do a Warcry campaign here on the channel using the new Trial of Champions, which I got to test out last night for the first time. And I can talk about that in here in just a sec. But, yeah, that is the plan. Do some battle reports and that kind of stuff. And live, laugh, love. All right, so as far as Trial of Champions, that's a good segue. As far as Trial of Champions goes, if you're not familiar with how it works, and I'm going to do a video later this week about like what the value of each book is for people who want to get into Warcry now that there's 3 books out there and you don't need them all. Sorry, my ring's tapping on the table there. So basically what it offers you is it's a campaign mode that is supposed to be just an inch harder with a little bit more bookkeeping. I would say that it's not suffocatingly hard, so if, you know, we had a few players who don't, you know, their first games of Necromunda were this campaign, because they're using just some Warhammer models, or Age of Sigmar models, I should say. And so it's not suffocatingly hard, it's just you roll on different tables. We all decided to adapt the new scoring system for campaigns, so we don't have a runaway win, and that's a good one to do. Yeah, that's honestly about it. So basically, after you finish a game, if you dominate a territory, which I was able to do last night, you now have a chart that you roll on, and each territory has like abilities. So you roll kind of 2d6 or something like that. Maybe it's a d66, I can't remember off the top of my head. But it's like, you know, some of them, I got, my area was, this area has nothing of interest, but then other ones are like, you know, you find glory, you find extra artifacts, that kind of stuff. Just cool random add-ons. And then from there, you accrue glory the same way, like through, you know, winning games, playing games, that kind of stuff. and then you can spend that glory. The big difference, honestly, is building your warband roster and the fact that people can get injured. Like that's, I mean, honestly, the biggest takeaways. So the injury table is pretty fun. I had a guy break a leg last night, and it healed up in the same night. So I played 2 games. The first game he broke his leg, but it was a temporary injury, and so it healed up by the end of the second game. And then what else did I do? Rolled on the territory table, and I didn't get anything. But that's all right. And then what else did I do that really engaged with that? There was something else I wanted to chat about. There's just some different artifacts, stuff like that. Oh, the warband building. Yeah, so in the Trial of Champions, basically you, instead of having the freedom to just add and subtract models at a whim, which is not, I don't know why they decided that was a good idea, but whatever. You have to build a 1,000 point list, which, convenient enough, most of the Warcry boxes are 1,000 point armies. And then if you want to replace, add, or anything like that, anyone on that warband roster, you have to spend glory. So it kind of gives you an additional thing for you to spend your glory resource on, rather than just dominating territories and artifact hunts. So now it's being pulled in different directions. And I like that. I like when a resource has meaning, because it's, either it's scarce, which it's not really scarce in that game. You get glory just for showing up and losing, or you have to manage like how efficiently you spend it on stuff. And I think that's what they were trying to go for. And I think that was a win. I think it's a cool thing. It's a cool idea. And so basically you spend 1 glory and you can get a model that's added to your warband. That's 0 to 100 points, I think. 2 glory is like 101 to 200 and so forth, and it goes up from there. And so, for example, like last night, I could have spent some to hire a new dude who didn't have a broken leg, but I was like, broken leg's not that bad. He's fine, and he ended up being just fine. But some folks, like one of our... it was Max, who plays Gloomspite Gets. He had an archer, so a little arrow boy who was blind in one eye, and like that matters for him. So now it's the question of, is he going to replace him or not, that kind of thing. So I think that kind of stuff's just super fun. Alright, so what do I got left? At this point, I'm pretty much just gonna... gotta get my Nasdreg yellow and paint the lights on these things my same sickly yellow that I've been doing for other stuff. To be honest, I don't find sci-fi as interesting as standard fantasy. That's fair. To each their own. I don't know. It depends, because there's so many different kinds of sci-fi and fantasy that I find it hard to kind of lump them together like that. Like, I don't know. Too much jargon in sci-fi. Fair enough. It's interesting the way that jargon works, though, because it could distract you by trying to make things sound important when they're not, which I feel like is what you're describing, and I think it's a real issue with a lot of sci-fi writing. But on the flip side, jargon can also be a way of pulling you further into the universe. For example, all of the weird pseudo-Latin naming conventions in 40K, like they're there to like kind of reinforce that like ancient, I don't know, that it seems like society has regressed, and I think that that's an interesting thing, because obviously if you know the story of 40K, like it has, like things are bad, things went backwards very, very far, and that either their language conveys that. But on most things, if they're like, oh, we need a quantum converter, and you're like, that doesn't mean anything, what are you talking about? Like that kind of stuff, I'm like fully on board. I'm like, oh, absolutely. Alright. Taking a break after washing the last 60 bases. Oh. Yeah, dude. Go get yourself some rest. Like 40k because it's space fantasy. I would agree. Yeah, I don't know if I wouldn't call it science fiction. What, you know, I've heard it called a space opera, which I kind of like that one, just because, you know, it's just a few heroes, meaning the Primarchs and the Emperor, you know, and there's also Tapper, but like it's their story across the galaxy. I'm like, oh, that sounds so rad. Let's see. So that's what else we got going on. I mean, to be honest, Magic can be like that too. Exactly, and that's the thing. That's why I mean, that it's hard for me to say like I like one over the other because there's just such different kinds. Because like I read some fantasy stuff, and you're just like, okay, fine. What are we talking about? Who cares? Who are these people? And a lot of that comes down to the author just not knowing how to show, not tell kind of thing, where they're not, like they can say, these elves are ancient and know all kinds of magic, but if they don't ever demonstrate that, it doesn't matter. And so that's when you get into those things where it's like, you know, they can make these scenes that seem very important and crazy and over the top with, you know, jargon, lingo, that kind of stuff. But none of it means anything if they're not doing anything meaningful. Chaos Lord Craig, we just started a little bit ago. All you missed was some camera trouble that we resolved. So, I guess you're right on time. Okay, let me grab a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And all we're going to be doing is taking a bit of sponge and kind of stippling on some random bits of steel, lead belcher, right? Yeah, lead belcher. And then we'll go from there. After this is done, like this specific layer, there's actually not a ton left to do for these parts in particular. And then the only thing I have left for this kind of phase of the Necromunda terrain is the doors and like dividers and that kind of stuff. And even that, I might... I'm kind of tempted to hold off on the barricade walls just because, like, I'll show them here. Like these things, just because, honestly, I don't really have an idea of what I want to do with them yet. If I'm super honest. Like, I have the colors down, we put them down last time, but like, do I want to just do steel on everything else or what? Not quite sure. So, I might actually just pause once I get the doors done, because I will do those. At least. Just take our sponge, tear it up a bit. Mistborn series, I lost a few chapters before Vin was involved. Okay. And we're gonna we'll grab this one. I'm just doing little dabs. I'm not sure how well the difference will show up on camera, but I can see it here, and you will see it when we do our battle reports. It's just adding a little bit of wear to everything. Okay. Vin. I'm not sure who Vin is. What series is that from? Mistborn. I've never heard of Mistborn. I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. I am not much of a reader. Folks think I just consume books, like inhale them, because of, you know, the fact that I have a channel that focuses on books and lore and that kind of stuff. But the truth is, I don't read nearly enough. And then they bring out so much stuff for Black Library. It's just like, if I'm going to read anything, that's probably what I'm actively reading at any given time. Personally, I blame school. Kind of took the joy out of reading for several years. Fair. I'm listening to audiobooks mostly. Ah, okay. Yeah, I went out of my way and got some of the Black Library audiobooks. That's how I was actually listening to, what's it called? The one we were supposed to do a book review on, but we couldn't. Play Garden. There we go. I was supposed to listen to Play Garden, and then I switched phones. I re-downloaded it, and it has my space like marked and saved and everything. And I just have not gotten back to it. I've been like, you know what I want to listen to? I want to listen to podcasts. Okay. That looks sufficiently gross. Missed 2+ tomes. Well, we can get back to it. Let me get through this lore competition thing. Do some other stuff. Yeah, I should go back to doing that. I know people liked it. It's just a lot more work for me to read a novel than it is to crank out Battletome stuff. And then they drowned me in Battletomes. My goodness, this year was crazy. But I have it on good authority that they're going to turn the floodgates back to... I have like no paint there. I was like, man, this stopped working all of a sudden. It's because I used all the paint. They're going to turn the floodgates back to 40k, so that's nice. For me, anyway. I'm excited for lore videos of the competition. Oh, yeah, me too. Yeah, I don't... there was a YouTube channel who does less, I think... He does 40k stuff, and he did something similar to that, where he took, like, you know, fan-inspired lore, and I loved the idea, and I was like, oh, why am I not doing that? So, because before I was like, hey, I don't want to give a prize, I don't want to hurt people's feelings, but then I was like, you know, the people who are going to have hurt feelings because they didn't win were never going to be happy anyway. They don't write for Black Library, so it's all good. Also happy about break from AOS new stuff. My poor wallet needs a recovery. Corey, did you jump into Bone Reapers as well? Because I think it was you who was doing Slaves to Darkness. Refresh my memory. But yeah, I'm excited for a little bit of a reprieve. Go. What's Gilliman doing? He's got to be doing something cool, right? Go talk about him for a few weeks. It's pretty much where I'm at. Okay, I feel good with all of these. That's why I'm hoping the Soulblight faction is like 2 years out and need time to recover from the Bone Daddies. Yeah, no joke. If you're a death player, it's a rough time. And by rough, I mean the best time to be alive, but also the poorest. Watch you get submissions from Dan Abnett. Hey man, they can. I mean, I'm not. The only limit I've put on there is you have to be 13 or older, and that's mainly because of Kappa. If Charlie Chaplin could enter a Charlie Chaplin lookalike contest and lose, Dan Abnett can do the 2+ tough lore challenge and lose too. I'm just saying. And so for these doors, it took forever for the yellow to dry because it took so many coats. So what I'm going to do is basically wash them and then slide them into the door frames, and that way they can dry upright. Hate when you haven't gotten your first army finished and they keep releasing the new hotness. Well, you could do it the Doug way and buy armies that don't have books or battle tomes or they're really old. So, for example, like Seraphon. And then paint them up and then sell or trade them off immediately before their battle tome comes out. That's how you win, really, at the hobby. I gotta be honest with you. So what I want for these doors is to be a really dirty yellow, so I'm making these nasty. I'm going to go back over with black and do hazard stripes, like on the doors. once it's all painted. There's just no reason. You don't need to Agrax Earthshade wash Abaddon black. It's not going to get any brown or black or whatever. Money to help you buy more paint. Oh, thank you. But yeah. Eek. They're just awkward sized. Is the thing about the doors. I do like them though. I actually got to say I like just about every single thing in the Dark Uprising kit. That's the thing. I was having this conversation with my game group last night where, you know, we're talking about the price point of the box, and it's just it's a real rough price point for anybody who already plays Necromunda. But like for me, who had nothing, like I had no dice, no templates, no armies, no terrain, nothing. Like it's a no-brainer, but it's one of those product releases that makes you ask, like, you know, who was this product for? Were they intending it for, you know, existing players? I don't know. It was an interesting space to be in. Oh, he's gonna look sick. Dice Chatter, how much more terrain do you have left? All of it. No, this will complete roughly half of it. The other half that I have will go by pretty quickly because it's more of these like gantry type things where it's like the platforms, and those paint up extremely fast because they're basically one-sided. Whereas I do have a few more of like the divider walls where 4-sided, but I guess 5-sided because you paint the roof of it. But I got that down to a science. So, but after these doors are done, I think I'm gonna take a break on the Necromunda terrain. I'm gonna crank out some more Maggotkin of Nurgle, because apparently they're getting cards for Warcry because they're in the campaign book, or the Tome of Champions. They have a campaign story arc. So I'm assuming they're getting cards. I'll be honest with you, I'm not super stoked that they put the campaigns out with no mention of the cards. Even if they were like, hey, these will be up for pre-order in like a month or so, I think that would have been a smarter thing, rather than just us being like, okay, cool, I have this campaign I can't use. Hashtag love it. So that's kind of where I've been at. But yeah, between the Slaves to Darkness book and the Tome of Champions, I'm like super excited to get into my Nurgle again. So getting excited for new cards. Not even sure if you need the new book. It only really matters if you're going to do, honestly, like 80% of that book is campaign stuff. Like it's the Trial of Champions, I should say narrative, not campaign stuff, but narrative. Which is my preferred way to play and what I'm going to be doing on the channel. But I can easily see it not having as much value for someone who that's not what they want to do specifically. What's going on here with this door? Wait 1 second. Bah. I hate doors. If anyone's a New Girl fan, you get that reference. Okay, that'll work. He just needs to sit up right. Let's see. Tome of Champions, that's it, yeah. Goobertown, hey, in the chat. Because of that Reward of a Lore video, I am unsure if I should go with my strong suit and do a snippet of life with the faction or just do an overview. I'm not giving you any suggestions. New Girl was the best. Sad it's over, but ended perfectly. Some sitcoms really get to say. Agreed. That was actually my favorite thing about Scrubs, was like the ending. I was just like, man, this is the perfect way to end the show. Could have ended a little bit sooner, but I didn't. I feel like the last episode or so was just like perfect. Rob B says, just found your channel and saw you were live. How cool is that? It is very cool, my friend. I'm here. I try to do a live show every Friday around this time. So it's 11 o'clock my time. Come on, man. I'm horribly indecisive. I mean, so here's the thing. This is why I wanted to bring the patrons into the voting thing. Because it's like, you know, I can tell you what kind of stuff I like, but ultimately it's going to go to a vote. So that doesn't include me. So there's that. Sean Blake, hey. Welcome. Just painting some terrain. This will be my last piece. Well, my last thing that I do for this stream, and then I'm going to bust out some Nurgle. We'll do some painting on the Gross Boys. Any tips on getting smoother coats aside from paint consistency? It always seemed like chalky. It depends. So like some colors are just always going to be a pain. Like I've just talked to a lot of people and white is just a problem. And that has more to do with like the creation of white paint than it does a lot of other stuff. Yeah, just thin multiple layers, build it up. What color are you trying to do that's chalky? Should probably start there. If you put it to the patrons, then you aren't at fault for choosing the wrong story. Exactly. That is literally the mentality I have. I've already gotten 4 emails of people calling me a hack and a fraud because, you know, it's arbitrary that I choose certain people. The fact that your patrons can enter is total bull and that kind of stuff. And it's just like, man, grow up. Just having fun. That's exactly what I said. Is like, you know, this is just for fun. Like, don't like it, don't participate. Emperor's Children over Pink Horror. You know, I bought Emperor's Children for the first time and I have yet to crack it open. So I'm not sure about that one. I don't really do a lot of pinks. But it was on super sale and I was like, done. Did I share that's what happened when you get prizes involved? Oh, totally. Well, no. It's not even about the prizes, yo. It's about recognition. You know what I mean? Because like you get people who are like, oh, I can write a Black Library novel, and they have no idea what goes into those things, like how much work goes into it, how much rejection goes into it, and it's just like anytime you bring up the possibility of someone being rejected, that's when you get those emails. Because And honestly, in that I approached them respectfully when I messaged them back, and it's just my honest understanding is that they can't handle the rejection. You know what I mean? And it's a sad fact. That's why they won't achieve what they want to achieve in life. But treat respectfully. It's like, yeah, I guess this contest just isn't for you, yo. Let's see. Zombie Man, if you know, one thing you might try, which I find could be kind of helpful, is if you go grab a thing of Lamia Medium, it's basically acrylic paint without any pigments in it. And so it can help kind of keep the paint's consistency a little bit. I mostly do it for washes for thinning out those colors, but you can do them with paints as well. You should be able to use water, but if you want something that's a little bit more, I don't know, guaranteed consistency, you can totally do that. And it would make perfect sense. Let's see. The problem is I had nothing to demonstrate because all of this is designed to look chalky and rough as hell. So, but that's part of the design philosophy, not a user error. I've been actively seeking to be published for 14 years. In that span, I have 3 stories published, and I went to school for English Lit. Yeah. Kenzie, I agree. I wish they would give you a... Well, I don't know how that would work, though, as far as, like, emailing everyone for every single entry to be like, no dice, yo. But I understand what you mean. I feel the same way like when I was looking for a job, right? You apply to places, you get an interview, and they don't even, like, do the courtesy of responding to you. And you're like, come on, man. Dice Chatter, no, they don't. I'm not even positive they give you an auto-respond email. I never submitted anything. I know that a few of my friends have. I won't shout them out because I don't know how open they are to sharing what they want to do. But, yeah. Cool. So those doors are going to be drying. I can move them out of the way. I just want to show off. Look how awesome this box of terrain is coming along. I'm not sure how the color picks it up, but it's just looking rough and rusty. One of the things I went out and bought was the Zone Mortalis tiles. So basically I'm going to focus on building a 2x2 table that is sick, like super sick. And that's, because I want to do smaller games. I know, like, one of the suggested sizes is like a 4x4, and I understand why, and I benefit from playing on a bigger table with my Escher, because I have a lot of blast guns, long range, that kind of stuff. But in terms of, like, hashtag real talk, playing the game actually and with limited space, it's really, really nice to play on something smaller. Someone told me Kill Team is the smallest you can go. I'm like, that's even smaller than a 2x2. Okay. Tell you what, let me go. I'm going to step away from the camera for just a half second. Right behind me is my Nurgle stuff. I'm going to bust out some stuff. We're going to start painting them. How'd you get the Necromunda floor tiles? Games Workshop sells them. Yeah, they sell them in packs of 4. So you buy one, you get a 2x2. But you can, of course, obviously buy a ton. I got here my recent eBay herb. I have a hobby knife here somewhere. We can work smart, not hard. Maybe not. Might be asking a whole lot of me before noon. Aha! So, this brings me to 1, 2, 3 boxes of Puskoil Blight Lords along with the 2 sets. I think I had 2 sets before. I really hope I do because I'd be very disappointed if I didn't. The list that I want to build is 1 Lord of Afflictions, a unit of 4 of these guys, and 2 units of 2 to make up an Affliction Cyst, and just jamming the maggoty fist of Nurgle down people's throat. That's the goal. Let's see. Alex says, "Hey Doug, wife's dry brushing some Night Haunt. Got any dry brushing tips?" I do actually. I got my handy dandy piece of paper here. So say you wanted to blend color. So a lot of the Night Haunt stuff is from like a dark to almost like an ethereal white towards the bottom. You can start, let's say you wanted to go from blue, it'll be right there, to white. I'll make it bigger so the camera picks it up a little bit better. There we go. And say this is like a spectrum here, right? You want blue at the top of the model, white at the bottom. I would say go ahead and pretty liberally either base coat it with blue, prime it with the shade of blue you want. Or if you're starting with another color, depends on how you're painting. Tell me more details, how you're actually getting that first coat on, what your primer color is, that kind of thing. But what I was going to say was, if you're building up a transition, this is totally me. I'm sure other content creators can tell you how to do it better. But basically, if you want that center point to be like the midpoint between these two colors, right? It goes blue, 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 and then it's blue, whitish, and then white, 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 and kind of leans that way. What I would say is actually build up the blue to about here and the white to here. And so this whole section is not quite this blue and not quite this white, but intermingling. And so you basically, what I'm saying is dry brush further than you think where you want the transition to actually be. And then if you do that for both colors, they'll overlap. That's probably the only dry brushing tip I have. If that does not make sense, because all I did was write a bunch of lines, please let me know. But that's about the only tip I can give. Dry brushing is really simple. Just dry it off in your towel, or I use a towel, or you use a paper towel. And then, you can always dry brush more on. Just be sure you don't have a wet brush, and then it'll be all streaky. Yeah. Barry says, "Hey Doug, not seen you on Rerolling Ones in a while." Yeah, I just been kind of demotivated to play my Iron Jaws. That's the only fully painted army I have. Swinging back into Chaos stuff with the Mad King, which is why I'm cranking out these. Says that does make sense. Oh yeah, happy to help. Erg. Oh, I forgot I actually had the wheel. Nice. I have forgotten so much of what I own. This is my box of junk to make my pirate ones. I got a bunch of shells. I got a bunch of seaweed. All the bases. Well, most of the bases. I'm just gonna go out and prime those brown though. No sense on wasting time. I am going to this is like a set of kegs from WizKids, and I'm gonna cut off part of the base. I'm gonna put a keg and stuff like that on some of the Pasquale Blightlords. Through that so I don't lose the wheel. Oh god, it helps. Just received the Gordrak. Wow, and the Iron Jaws starter set for Christmas. I'm in heaven. Yeah, you are. Now here's... So I'm kind of bummed. I thought that I had some models primed so I could just jump into painting, but I do not. I just have a whole box of Nurgle that needs to be fully assembled. Okay, well, we can build instead of paint. That's quite all right. Yeah, so the list I'm working on, it's not going to be competitive. It's not my goal. But it's going to be a whole bunch of the Pasquale Blightlords and a set of Blight drones to kind of take the first punch from my opponent. Basically being a meat wall. Seeing your Iron Jaws inspired you? Aw, well that's so nice. I'm always nervous when people say like, hey, I saw you building that army. I thought it looked so cool. I went ahead and bought it myself. And I'm like, but I trade armies all the time. Don't do what I do. I'll just break your heart. Wait for it. There we go. My goodness, that was hard to find. Just one of the instructions, but I buried them. because I packed them all up so neatly. So let's do our... Let's do our Lord of Afflictions. I snagged the codex first. It's so zany. I just love the wall. Yeah, their new book is a ton of fun. Ton of fun to jump into. I'm just making room for myself. So Jack is just waiting for his Iron Jaws. Exactly. He's just chilling. No. So basically, from the War Clans book, though, like I do like War Clans. It's just looking at what the units do and that kind of stuff. I have much more interest in the Bone Splitter side than I do with the Iron Jaws, like in a big way. So I have a bunch of Bone Splitters. I have the Rogue Idol. I got a bunch of cool stuff. So I'm going to hold on to the book and the Bone Splitter stuff. And the only reason I have the Iron Jaws right now is because they're my only fully painted army. Is what it comes down to. Let's see. So we need pieces 1 and 3. Which kind of looks like that's it right there. Will rerolling ones be joining you for Necromunda? I don't know. I know that Shu doesn't have a whole lot of interest. I know Brent kind of likes the setting, but I don't know if he'll want to jump into any kind of games. And Jack's mentioned a few times grabbing the Van Zar gang. That's all I know. So I might be able to wrestle Jack in, but I highly doubt he would kind of do it as a main game just because he's much more focused than I am. Let's see. 2. Piece number 2. This is why I don't typically build stuff on stream, because I end up just looking for random pieces. Because GW doesn't always put the sprue, doesn't organize the sprue in the most convenient way, where you're just like, where is it? William Moser, follow your heart. Oh, thank you so much. That's super kind of you. Super, super kind of you. I'm just following the chat here. Brendan, hey. Picked up Slaves to Darkness book today, and the Mind Control Llama is pretty rad. Yes, the War Llama. I love him. There's 2 optional heads in that one, and one of them I really like, and the other one I really dislike. The one that looks like it has a mask on, I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. So I'm looking for either 30 or 13. It's like a spike that can go on his face, which is pretty cool. But it jumps around so frequently with their numbers system. You're just like, I have no idea. Okay, there's one of them. Tell you what, we're just gonna grab that because we can, because we see it. Seen your list on the old Twitter. What's your thoughts on the Blessed Sons Battalion with the points drop? You know, that's the one where they get reroll 1s to their saves. I think it probably has some game just by virtue of the fact that it lowers your drops. It depends on what you want to do with that. Then again, I mean, you're talking to someone who thinks everything is fun. Everything that sounds fun should be brought to a weekend event. So I don't, I've never had to build. I've only painted. Yeah, usually. So here's the thing. I usually buy used models and paint them up and then sell them off. But I was an idiot and decided that, you know what, I want to do something special. And so for my Nurgle army, I'm going to build and paint every aspect of it so that I don't sell or trade it away. And I have kept my word that I have not sold or traded it away, but it is mind-numbing. I hate building models so much. It's actually the reason. It's actually the reason I got the Necromunda terrain built by good guy Ben. It's just like, I can't. I just finished the Warcry terrain. My heart hurts. I'll paint it. You know, yeah, it's still an immense amount of stuff to paint, but it's, yeah, I don't know. I will say that the Dark Uprising, the amount of terrain you get just way overshadows anything that the Warcry box came with. You know, it has a matching price point, but Old Boy says, hello, just stumbled on your videos. Currently collecting Bone Reapers. Nice. That's awesome. Well, welcome. Welcome, welcome. They're certainly a cool army. I have one more video I want to do for them talking about the different, just the different, like, sub-factions. You know, like the, what do you call them? Legions. I think the Legion-specific ones. There's little lore blurbs about all of those. So I want to chat about them. I try to whenever they're kind enough to give us those. I always want to chat about them. I'm really hoping that whenever Tzeentch and Nurgle get redone, that they get those as well. Because I think it's such a cool thing. Like, I understand there's a lot of people have problems with the way that they're designed, the Allegiance, like, no, the sub-faction type things. Because they're often like a point of poor balance game-wise. But at the same time, like, I love the idea of building like a specific thematic army. I think it's so stinking cool. App the Kitten, welcome to the group, Old Boy. Hey, thank you for doing that. Doug is like super nice, like an old friend. I try. Doug, what color scheme did you go with for the Warcry terrain? I did a few. I kept it very simple because I want the models to pop. So for example, like of the buildings you get, I have a gray building, which is basically just primed gray and then Ulthuan gray after a wash. One that is Sotek green, because I like the kind of green buildings they've been going with aesthetically. It's on Instagram if you follow me and zoom down towards wherever that is over there. Yeah. Okay. 4, right? Yep, 4. I thought, I remember thinking, oh, Doug, you're an idiot, because I need to not put my normal, like, you know, wooden planked deck basing on these things, because I have to drill a hole and put the flight stands in, but these don't use flight stands. They use, like, molded into the model. So that's cool. Okay, so we got that, and then we have piece number 8, which is like a weird leg thing. Weird leg thing, where art now. Ah. Wish we could get more Nurgle videos, but I guess we'll have to wait for them next Battle Tome. I can try to dig something up. I just, the last ones I did were Torglug / Tornus and Horticulus Slimix. I'll see what I can dig up in the book. I actually, because I started reading, this is how it goes. Wait 1 second. Because I started reading the Plague Garden, I loosely started putting together video notes about, Order the Fly, which is kind of the main villain in that one, where they perceive themselves as this like super holy knightly order, which I thought was really rad. But then I stopped listening to that book, as I mentioned earlier, just because I forgot it was there. So I gotta revisit that. Let's see. I could use some Slaanesh videos if you're taking requests. So I used to do requests. If you guys remember, if you've been a long time watcher, I used to be like, hey, what do you want to learn about? Leave in the comments down below. And then I would start a video with being like, this question was brought to you by blank. And I would put the person's name up there. And people loved it. And I loved doing it. And then it just got so much. There were just so many things that I couldn't keep track of who requested what. And then lore, I started doing lore weeks instead. And started to lose my mind a little bit. Like, nah, I gotta back off that one just a smidge. And for this side, we got... That was the biggest thing, is I couldn't keep track of who asked for what anymore, because there were so many requests flooding in, and if they doubled up, then one person picked, but I asked for that, not this other guy. And you're like, well, you both did. You're not a snowflake. 5, and I need 7. Where's 7? See, my Twitter's blowing up. I put a post on Twitter that was like, hey, thank a content creator, because they work hard on stuff and things. And it kind of got hijacked by some people being snarky and fun. It's all in good fun, but I think at one point it turned into a fight scene from Anchorman or something like that. Nurgle got a solid amount of love. Devoted Nurgle player. I'd say there's others that could use the attention too. Nurgle did get quite a bit of love. What I'm hoping for, because there was those rumors of them getting a Beastgrave or Warhammer Underworld, whatever you want to call it, warband. So what I'd love is for a new book to come out alongside the warband, because I don't typically like named characters. Like, I even struggle to bring the Glotkin, and he's my favorite GW model. Just because they're named. I'm like, oh, I don't want them to be everywhere, but I'll take them every once in a while. But point is that... Wait, am I missing a leg? No, I'm not. Okay, so this will go... Yeah. That's strange. I had me do them in a very weird order. Okay, sorry. But the point is that... I like making my own narratives, my own heroes, and that kind of stuff. And so, if they give us a Beastgrave warband, I'll probably just convert whatever the units are from that into like more interesting versions of, you know, Blight Kings or whatever. I just imagine it'll be like a Lord of Afflictions or something like that, and Blight Kings. That's my guess. Took Glotkin to Adepticon last year. He did okay. That's good to hear. Does that look right? Yeah, it does look right. Okay. Yeah, I like him. You know, he's super rad. Oscar Lars painted an incredible looking Glotkin that just blew my mind. I love looking at it. What else? You know, he's a strange one, because he looks like someone you want to get in there and just like punch the snot out of stuff, right? Big old club arm. He's got 2 dudes riding his back, shooting magic. But that's not how it pans out. He really is like a force multiplier buff piece. So you don't want him quite thrown directly into the fray. Speaking of Pestigors, I sure hope there are Pestigors in the next battle tome. That'd be cool. I'd love that. Pain the Glotkin is a monster of a task. Yeah, he was my first big model. Up until then, I'd only ever painted like you know, Chaos Warriors, or I think a Chariot is where I maxed out. Maybe a Dreadnought for 40k, something like that. You know, for Warhammer stuff, I think. No, because I never paint anything bigger for War Machine and Hordes, because they're all about Dreadnought sized. So yeah, he was my first like mega model. So this is 10. And I like that he's hollow. He's basically Humpty Dumpty. He's like, I like him. And oh, it was also the first time I magnetized anything. Yeah, because I magnetized, what did I magnetize? Magnetized the guy standing on his back, the brothers. So I was like, at some point I was like, oh, because there were so few Nurgle models, right, and the sorcerer was so old at that point. He still is old, the Nurgle sorcerer model. I was like, oh, well, I will use these as those. I'll have a Nurgle Chaos Lord and a Nurgle Sorcerer dude. And then they came out with the whole new range, and all of a sudden I just never got around to doing that. Boom. Nice. These guys are going to be huge. I did not realize how big they were. And 11 and 12. We've got some metal corn gores, still haven't built. Wow. I remember watching my Hell Pit hit a Glotkin from full wounds to 1 wound in a single attack. Oh yeah. Yeah, he's not, he is not too tough. I think he has like a 4-up save, right? He's not, I mean, which is not something to sneeze at because of his, like, his wound count, but he can take a bit of punishment. But if you dedicate to killing him, you will. Wings don't matter much, just a big and a little on each side. That's good to know. I was kind of, yeah, you read my mind, dude, because I was just sitting here staring like, I feel like I have an inordinate number of wings. I have a lot of wing options. It's kind of like, you know, I always know that I'm poor when I go out to dinner, and I'm like, I have too many forks. There are too many forks around me, because you got all your forks for your different courses, and you're just like, nope, 1 fork. That's why, so I went out to a company Christmas party the other night, and we were having that same conversation because, like, she kept taking my silverware away. I'm like, no, I'm still using this, I'm still using that. And she's like, no, like, whenever we bring out dessert, we bring out a dessert fork, sir. And I was just like, ugh. Way to make me look poor. Thanks, lady. I think the oldest miniature I have is a Rogue Trader Adeptus Custode. Wow. For me, what is the oldest miniature I have? I guess probably either the Plague Bearer kit or the Ard Boys. Ard Boys are old. I love this. I think I might have to make a house rule. You have to make fly buzzing sounds as you move these guys. Okay, so basically it has you build the flies, and then everything else is just kind of built on top of that. So we'll do that. We'll build the flies real quick. Let me get him propped up so the wings aren't being leaned on as they dry. Okay, perfect. And then we just jump right into the next one. Where am I at time-wise? Let's take a look. Been going for about an hour. Okay. 1 hour left, killing time. Don't tell my boss. Unless your boss is also watching, which would be pretty cool. Do that, was it Step Brothers moment? Did we just become best friends? Yep. Oh, this guy's dragging a bell with him. That's cool. We were watching The Witcher, now we're dry brushing. Aw. Well, I'm glad you can get some progress done. Trying to think. There hasn't been a whole lot in the news today. I was trying to think of stuff like just to chat randomly about, or I can just, you know, like every internet content creator's dream is just to have a score of people just listening to their every random thought. I thought Thor 2 was fine, that kind of stuff. But there hasn't been a whole lot of news. I mean, obviously it's kind of their... I hesitate to use the word slow season, but they're, you know, they do kind of wind down a smidge just to let Christmas stuff happen. They've been doing a lot of promotions for that, so... Okay, so we need 16 is the head we're looking for. Here's that weird spine thing. What sort of nippers are those? These are, honestly, I think I got them at Hobby Lobby, and they're just like clippers. Like, that's the brand. No information given. Okay, so I got that. I need the face, which is bit number 16. It's on here, 16. Star Wars yesterday. You know, I haven't watched a Star Wars movie in a long time. Haven't seen the last, oh my gosh, how many have they made? Rogue One was the last one I watched, I believe. I'm hearing interesting reports on this one that just came out. I won't share anything because I don't want to ruin anyone else's fun. I'm gonna see how bad it is. At this point, I feel like the person in charge of the Star Wars intellectual property is just playing like limbo, just like how low can you go? In terms of, you know, community support is what I mean. I don't, like I said, I'm not part of the Star Wars fan base appeal anymore. I'm kind of out of it. But the fact that there's so many people being like, this is just not good. I mean, not about this direct movie specifically, but just about the way the franchise is going. It's very interesting. Question, Doug, for made your own fan-made character. Q, I don't understand your question. You have till February 1st to put in your lore submission, if that's what you're asking. I also want to play the tabletop next year. Assault, I think. Have any of you guys played Star Wars Legion, like the miniature game? I've been interested in that one because it doesn't use a ton of models, but they're big, cool set pieces. And like, for the longest time, the only reason I didn't buy into it is I was like, you know, I don't want to buy into a game that no one's playing. That's always my biggest thought. But then I've been seeing more and more folks playing it. I heard it's clunky. Clunky, okay. Phantom drags down the lot. I'm not sure what Phantom... Oh, Phantom Menace, the movie. Okay, so we gotta glue the two halves of the beast together here. Clunky doesn't rule it out for me. I mean, so is Necromunda and more time. They can be quite clunky. Old boy, see you later, my friend. That's dumb. The way they had you assemble this doesn't seem like a very bright idea where you put it together and then you put the mouthpiece in. But the problem is, now that it's together, this stupid tail thing is in the way. And now it's hard to line up. So there's that. Just a hot second. This is a strange one here. I think I got it in there. Yeah, I think I got it. There's been multiple times. I noticed it a lot with the Warcry warbands, where Games Workshop has you build things in a certain order. And then after you build it, you're like, that would have been so much easier if I had done, you know, step 3 before step 2. Mainly on the Corvus Cabal, I had a terrible time putting the big bird boy together. I assume that this is going to clog up. Yep. Does Citadel glue aggressively stick to your fingers? This stuff, the plastic glue, no. No, every once in a while it gets a little gunk on your fingers and you just brush it off. Because plastic glue doesn't react to skin in the same way that super glue does. Regular super glue leaves your fingers rough. No, it's almost like what it feels like is if you tried to peel like a price sticker off something and you get that kind of like yuck kind of feeling, but it brushes off super quickly. That's pretty much what my experience has been. Modeling cities watching you model Nurgle isn't helping me help my progress. Yeah, bah, yeah, it's I like it, you know. And honestly, the biggest thing for me, you know, a lot of folks like to use super glue so they can, like, you know, pop guys off bases and that kind of stuff and do all kinds of things. It's easier to break off. But like plastic glue, just to warn you, dry fit everything, because once this stuff dries, it say you have two objects and you plastic glue them together, it melts both and then binds them. So like, in theory, when this other guy's dry, I should be able to lift it by its wings with no problems, because they have melted into the actual core of the body. So just give you a heads up, that's why you dry fit everything. Just joined, what are you building? We're building some Pusgoyle Blight Lords. These guys, the Nurgle ones. that look all kinds of sick nasty. So what do we got? Okay, so we got bell done, face done, that's done. Current issue with the super glue is it doesn't stick so well. So if you're looking for super glues, I cannot recommend enough. This is a Loctite, like a gel one. And so it comes out as a gel and then kind of like shrinks as it dries. And I gotta say, like, I don't know, I just love it. It's awesome. The only thing is if you do it on something that's painted, it will leave kind of that white residue. So, and that's easy to clean up. But that would be my suggestion for you with super glue. The little tiny like squirt, like these things of super glue, I'm pulling out. You know, you see a lot of like generic cheap kinds of super glue in containers like this. They tend to not work for me. And it's actually one of the things that I recently bought. I'm not sure why I'm not painting it right now because I forgot it existed. But has been the Warcry Citadel. And the reason the guy gave it to me for so cheap, he's like, it just keeps falling apart. I hate it. I use so much super glue on it. And I looked at it and he kept using that super cheap kind. And the minute I put my gel Loctite stuff on, I've never had a problem with it. So I'm just like, oh, okay, got that on a deal. Not going to say anything. Hugh, go watch the video about lore stuff. There's all the instructions on that. Gotta read the rules of a competition to win it, my friend. You ain't lying. Loctite superglue is perfect for attaching bases. Yes, and that's exactly so. These big spindly dudes that are all top heavy, that Loctite stuff's gonna go right there onto the base. Boop. And I have zero doubts and worries about them. Like, it's the kind of thing where this section will break before that Loctite connection snaps off, so. Yep. What do I want to do now? I'll tell you what, my stomach is growling because it is lunchtime for me. So, you know, I'm going to open it up to questions. And if you have any questions for me, go ahead and write questions in all caps and just throw it out there for me. And we'll go ahead and we'll wrap up the show a little bit. I want to chat with y'all. My favorite thing about this kit is this little Nurgling here. It's a Nurgling riding a baby fly, which I love. I'm going to keep at least one of them off so that I can put them on other things, but I am excited for him. The Atrocious Disaster. I've also just started getting into AOS. And I like the look of the Skaven, but what would you recommend me to get? What kind of Skaven do you like? Like what appeals to you to the army? Because there's a bunch of different directions you can go with some of those units. So go ahead and let me know about that. If it's the plague stuff, like the rats in the robes, the Pestilence Star Collecting Box is incredible. Like straight up incredible. If you want like the big war machines and that kind of stuff, I could take you down some different paths. They're a strange faction to jump into because you have to jump in with so much, and not all of their kits are as easily accessible as others. Kenzie's giving me pretty good. Oh yeah. Question for the lore writing: does the title count in the 1500? No, you can go ahead and not count that. That's fine. What do you think of the Giants rumor in the next AOS faction? I don't know. I don't even know what to think about that. I'd love it. I'd love a Knight Titan from 40k equivalent in AOS where it's just, you know, I think around, if you take a full Knight army, it's around 7 models, because they now have like the smaller, like the Helverines or whatever. So I think, yeah, 7 to 10 model army sounds amazing, and I would totally jump on that. Question. What's next time we'll see your face on a Rerolling One's battle report? I don't know. They're doing something special that's going to exclude me for a few weeks. No spoilers on that. And then I will jump in with hopefully a Maggotkin army at some point. So I got to get cranking on these. Everyone helping out Atrocious Disaster, thank you. I appreciate it. Question: what other forms of worship is in the Mortal Realms? We see a lot of variants with Chaos, but what about like for Sigmar, Alariel? As far as forms of worship, I don't really know, to be honest with you. I'm not sure. Because all we see is we see a lot of prayers. Bloodshed, if it's a murder god like Cain or something like that, it's all about war and bloodshed. I'm not quite sure. That's a good question. Let me think about that. If you were a hot dog, what toppings would you want on you? Honestly, I like hot dogs with just mustard. Ketchup's a little bit overpowering for me. For the flavor. I want to be able to taste all of the random animal giblets that have been turned into a pink paste and then stuffed inside the hot dog form. I want to taste the buffalo, the pig, the cow tongue, all of it. Do you think the Chaos Gods view themselves as chaos? I'm not sure if they have an identity outside. I mean, I think they see themselves as gods, like they have the arrogance. I'm not sure. I mean, they might just see themselves as a force of nature, right? Like, I am a part of the universe. Why? Because murder exists, kind of thing. Part of its fabric, if you will. That boy dog, nice and simple with the hot dog. Yeah. So, okay, friends, I'm going to go ahead and hop off. Thank you all so much for joining me. I'm going to get to work. I have a lot of videos planned this coming week. Talking about Necromunda terrain, painting guides. What else do I got? I have 2 to 3 more Slaves to Darkness videos. Warcry stuff. All kinds of junk. So anyway, thank you all so much for joining me. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Come next week with some questions and we'll hash those out. See y'all later. And hey, this is my last Friday before Christmas. Merry Christmas, everybody, and happy work.